Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this special transmission where we're covering the elections 2024. But as we have already told you, these are unconfirmed results until and unless the notification comes from the Election Commission of Pakistan. Despite the fact that these are of course published by the Election Commission of Pakistan, this is the protocol that we follow, that we call these results unofficial and unconfirmed until and unless the notification, the official notification comes from the Election Commission of Pakistan. We did give you a little outlook on the number of seats and the positions as a couple of minutes back before the news came at 5, and we were telling you that 61 independents have won their respective seats, while 43 seats have been won by PMLN, 38 by the Pakistan People's Party parliamentarians, and then that was followed by the MQMP, and other seats were around 2 in number. As far as the number of seats, 148 results have been compiled by the Election Commission of Pakistan, and the rest are pouring in as we speak. And we also know about the little the meeting with the press of our federal ministers that also happened, in which they explained as to why the mobile phones had been suspended and why the services were suspended yesterday during polling time. And of course they mentioned security as the main concern, and due to which certain decisions had to be taken at the last moment. We've been joined for this very hour by two guests. One is a political expert, and not a political but a political economic expert. He is Dr. Usman Chohan. He's a political economist. Thank you very much, Usman, to have joined us. Your mother also a very renowned former ambassador and one of his experts. So of course, welcome to our show. And our second guest is Namra Sohail. She's a reporter, and she continues to give us more information as far as the whole process of elections, how they went along, and what was her first-hand experiences. Thank you very much, Namra, to have joined us as well. Usman, let's begin with you. Usman, whichever government comes into power and the results are pouring in, and everybody is saying that it's going to be a very stringent time for the government that comes into power, because it has to handle many things, especially economy, the relationship with lenders like the IMF, the World Bank, the AIIB, and of course also handling and strengthening Pakistan's economy from the inside to make it an export-based economy, which has been what a lot of political parties have been claiming in the last few years as well. How much of that is achievable? What should be the way forward? How should the political party or parties that come into power, whether it is one political party or it's a coalition, how should they maneuver in order to strengthen our economy?
It's an excellent question that you've posed, because the challenge ahead is a serious one, of course. But I am very confident that the road ahead will be one paved with prosperity for Pakistan. And the job is easier when there is one political party which is committed to the cause. When you have a coalition, making decisions becomes more difficult because you have to appease more stakeholders, and blame shifting becomes easier because you can simply say that those other people in our coalition were not cooperating. So it becomes a harder challenge, but still it is entirely surmountable. Now, insofar as the economy goes going forward, we've had 2 rough years, but we always continue to see things getting better since then. And I'm very confident that things are going to be better, not just for Pakistan, but for the world economy as a whole, which will help us substantially.
But there are so many conflicts. You still feel to be cautiously or cautiously optimistic or properly optimistic as far as the economy is concerned?
That is a good point, that there are disruptions that have come since 2021 that are very significant, and they have posed challenges for the world community. And these hiccups are very, very serious. But the fact is that I think we've borne the brunt of the major ones, the biggest one being the pandemic. And after that, the conflicts that have emerged have, for example, impacted energy prices and inflation. And we continue to have very high inflation in Pakistan. So any government that comes has to take this as its utmost priority to make the burden on the consumers, the salaryman, the taxpayer less, so that their families can live better lives.
All right, Namra, I'm going to kind of change to a completely different tangent with you. Well, you were, reporting in the field from NA46, and you were going to the different polling stations. What was your first impression as a layman, as a citizen, as to how things were moving along? Do you have some experiences that you'd like to share with us, some stories? What was the basic, enthusiasm of the people? Did they have any grievances with regards to the polling staff or with the polling process? Kindly highlight us on some of those examples.
Well, Umar, when I went, because a reporter is the first person to go in the field when you have to cover such big stuff. So I was there like 6:30 in the morning, and it was still dark, and I wasn't really expecting people to be waking up so early and coming to the polling stations. But 8 o'clock was the official time, and people were there around 7:30. So people had already queued outside the schools, which were the polling stations, and largely women. So that is one aspect that women had started pouring in, and when I was standing at the G104 postgraduate college, which had 12 booths, so it had 4 for women, 4 for men, and 4 combined. So the second person that I saw, there were 2 ladies coming. Who were the first people to come, to vote, and the second person was I saw was on clutches. So she was a lady. So I was very impressed by how the turnout is coming out. As far as the women are concerned.
This realization is very important, Usman. This realization of the whole voting process, that you need to vote, that you need to contribute as a citizen of Pakistan to determine which candidate eventually or comes into power, or even if he or she does not, that you have been part of that whole process. How important is that, and how important is the whole mechanism of the whole of this voting process that has gone quite smoothly?
It is the most important argument in favor of democracy, is that it makes people get the sense that they are a part of a whole. And even if you are somebody of a disprivileged background, lower caste, marginalized, whatever, you still should feel that you alone are making a decision that will change the course of your people's destiny.
Chohan, we were talking about the importance of the whole voting process, and how important is it for each and every individual to vote and to feel responsible as a part of a whole, like you just said. All right, we're all ears.
The idea that democracy is an imperfect system is valid, but there is one big merit of it, and that is that every person should feel part of a common destiny. In that sense of a common destiny, as Namra was telling us, there are people who are just coming of age to vote, there are people who are disabled or otherwise impaired, and they also feel that they are collectively helping to change the course of a nation. This is the singular benefit of this. Otherwise, in other systems, you must have a lot of legitimacy vested in one person, perhaps a divine right of kings, perhaps something like that. Otherwise, democracy has the idea that it doesn't matter who it was and who I am, but we're working together towards common projects.
And that commonality of projects is extremely important for a nation to build itself as one. I think the nationhood, the whole feeling of nationhood needs to be imbibed in a much stronger fashion in a country like Pakistan that needs this nationhood more than ever now.
I agree with you, and I want to reiterate the importance of the democratic process in Pakistan, because Pakistan is a soft power project. It is a democratic project. People voted with their feet, people voted with their lives. There was great sacrifices given for it, both in East and West Pakistan, because people were mesmerized and tantalized by this idea that we together can reawaken a civilization that has been subjugated by Western imperialism and local agents. That same spirit has to continue across generations, that this sacrifice has been given because it was a democratic project in unison, done together.
I totally agree with you. Usman, when it comes to the whole voting process and of course result and the whole excitement that is associated with it, we all feel as if we're going through a live rendition of some kind of an important event that is going on in our country, and it is an important event, doesn't happen every year. What is the onus of responsibility of all those who have won, and how important will their roles be, irrespective of their political parties or their political affiliation, to come together as one and have a joint consensus on important issues that are relevant to Pakistan, especially economy?
You've posed an excellent question which has multiple parts which speak to one fundamental value, and that value is integrity. The integrity of the system is necessary. Legitimacy of the system is necessary, and it's legitimacy not just in terms of the officials who are elected, but also that the public confers a degree of trust in the system. In terms of the procedural elements of voting, because we are now 1/4 of the way through the 21st century, perhaps there are more modern systems that we could have. A lot of my research focuses on things such as the blockchain, and the blockchain is not just about economics, it is also about having consensus building and ensuring that things are not tampered with, whatever the process is in question. And so there's far more that you can have, and even though you may say, well, there's so many remote areas, so many rural people, etc., keep in mind that there are 128 million people who can vote, and it's about 120 million people who have mobile phones. So the overlap is pretty much 1-for-1, and wherever there's gaps, it can be filled. So there's much more in terms of complementing legitimacy with transparency, with efficiency. These are the values that should guide any decision-making process that involves consensus at a large scale. And one final point is that when you mention that it's important because it doesn't happen every year, it happens 5 years, it's not just that it's important for Pakistan. This is an event of monumental consequences for the rest of the world, because Pakistan is such an important country.
A lot of eyes are focused on Pakistan right now.
Yes, and it isn't by coincidence that right now there's such a keen eye of the world on this, because Pakistan is such an important country, and what the next 5 years and future years will be for a country that is at the crossroads of global geopolitics and geoeconomics, it will matter a lot what decisions are taken.
That is true. And you know, when I was talking to the spokesperson of the Election Commission of Pakistan, she was here in the studios, and today we managed to talk to her a little bit about the whole process and the continuity and the continuation of this election process. She told me that the male-female parity, or the gender difference between 2018 and 2024 has been significantly reduced from around 11% to 7%. So there are more women compared to 2018, and she said that a lot of effort goes to us and all the other community members who have gone to all the universities, explained the importance of the whole voting process and how everybody needs to be involved in it. Do you feel, as also as an educationist, Dr. Usman, that we need to also have lectures on the political process and the voting process in universities and colleges, so as to give a more extensive idea of how this goes along, and imbibe the the essence of responsibility as a citizen to these upcoming youth of Pakistan?
Yes, and I think you're presenting an outstanding recommendation, because there was a time in Pakistan civics was a course taken, and this civics disappeared because we wanted to go towards more functional courses. I don't see the utility of having just functionalism in an education, because as our language presents you, there's the talim and the tarbiyat. So we have the tarbiyat element, which is also the grooming of the individual. In that regard, having lessons given on how electoral processes work is important. I would go a step further. Not only should it be that they are educated, but it should be we should actually have something like mandatory voting in Pakistan. There's about 25 countries of very different types that have this, where you are legally obliged to vote. So it would be criminal for me not to go to vote, even if I have to just cast a blank ballot. And having efficiency metrics to have that made possible would be a huge plus, supplemented by an education about the importance and the methodology of it being done.
Now, that is a very good point that you've raised. Trust, Usman. You know, this is so important even for any politician who will come as a result of these votes. Needs to have that element of trust of the nation, of his constituency. Of course, he has it because he's garnered the number of votes, but now it's his role as a member of the parliament, whether it be the National Assembly or the Provincial Assembly, and gain the trust of even those who have not voted for him. How important is this whole process? Do you feel that we as a nation need to be more apprehensive and understanding of this whole trust process?
Yeah, I think you're laying the correct emphasis on what happens after the election. We as a society have a very, in Urdu we would say tamashbeen, so we have a very spectator orientation, so we're seeing a spectacle, but we really have to think about what happens after, and trust will be endowed in the people who come from this process if it is considered legitimate, and it should be considered legitimate. In that context, when the difficult decisions have to be made, particularly with regards to the economy or institutional reform or even electoral reform, you will have to have people who have that trust, who can persuade the people that sacrifices have to be made. Because the way our economy is misstructured, there are few people gaining at the benefit of the many. For them, the many, therefore, they have to be persuaded to have a sacrifice, that the process is painful, but at the end there will be something better for everybody. If you do not trust the person who is making those claims, then you will not be willing to undertake that sacrifice and express yourself in antisocial ways. And what we want is for a social process to occur.
All right. That is a very interesting point that you've raised, and it's pertinent for all the members of the National Provincial Assembly to not only be responsible citizens of our communities that they represent, but also imbibe that trust, so that we as citizens can rely on them. With that, we end this very transmission. It has been interesting, and of course other colleagues of mine will be following this up with while giving you more results as far as the National Provincial Assembly seats are concerned. This is a continued process which will go on till the results are compiled, till all of them come, and of course then will be the part of Form 48 and the final notification by the Election Commission of Pakistan, which will declare these candidates as the winners. Omer Khalid Butt bids you farewell, and I'd like to thank my two guests who were here with me throughout this hour. Namra Sohail, thank you very much, Namra, and of course Dr. Usman Chohan, to have been here and to have contributed your part as far as the information or highlighting what needs to be done now that the voting process is about to end is concerned. Thank you very much to the both of you. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, will be followed by the news, followed by more of our co-anchors who will be highlighting different aspects of this election process, while at the same time giving you more seat numbers. Allah Hafiz.